live. Can you see us? Does anybody see us?
Okay.
You see us?
Not yet, but there's a delay.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It says we are live.
Yep.
Oh, it's starting. Fine. You're on.
Okay. Okay. So sorry for the delay. Good evening. I guess for most of you it's morning right now, and but here in Beit Jala, Palestine, it's already dark. And I thank you for joining us at this hour and accommodating to our limitations in travel, both in Palestine and between Palestine and Israel. My name is Efrat Tal. I work for the Parent Circle Families Forum, PCFF, and this is actually the first time we're doing this YouTube live event. And so thank you for bearing with us with the problems. We're not that tech savvy. We will be speaking today with two extraordinary members of the Parent Circle Families Forum, Rami Elhanan, Israeli Rami Elhanan, and Palestinian Bassam Aramin, who have both lost their daughters in most tragic events. When we first thought of this event, it was with connection to the terrible violence that is going on these days in Israel and Palestine. The violence and fear that are really dominating our streets and our lives and our people, and creating more devastating consequences for this conflict. However, we cannot stay within our own limitations right now when we are just coming out of this most tragic weekend, when both attacks in Beirut and in Paris have again cost the lives of so many people, and our hearts do go out to their family members and to their societies. I will tell their stories and speak a little bit about what they feel is their and the Parent Circle place and role in this conflict and in these very, very violent days. We will then be open to questions and answers. So please send your questions to American Friends PC. That's Parent Circle, American Friends PC @gmail.com. Thank you very much. And who's going to start? Rami.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's not obvious for us that you will be waking up this early in the morning to listen to our painful stories. This beautiful Arab terrorist to my right is my brother, Bassam Aramin. And in many ways, he's the closest person to me on earth, much closer to me than many of my own people, even many of my own family. What makes us so close is the price that he was paid as an outcome of this ongoing conflict between our two nations. We don't need words to understand each other. We share the same kind of pain. My name is Rami Elhanan. I'm 65 years old, graphic designer living in Jerusalem, born in Jerusalem, 7th generation, a Jew, an Israeli, and before anything else, a human being. 42 years ago, I was a very young soldier fighting this horrible October 73 war. We've started it with a company of 11 tanks. We finished it with only 3. And I came out of this war a very angry and bitter and disappointed young man with one determination to detach myself from any kind of involvement or commitment. I got out of the army, I finished my studies, I got married, and I had 4 kids. And 32 years ago, my daughter was born in Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. Her name was Smadar. The name Smadar is taken from the Bible, the Song of Solomon. It means the grape of vine, which means the opening of the flower. A very vivid, sparkling, joyful little girl. She was extremely beautiful. She was an excellent student. She played the piano. She was a swimmer. She was a dancer. She was amazing, really. And everybody used to call her the princess. And we lived a very good life in our house in Jerusalem. My wife, which is a professor for education in the Hebrew University, my 3 boys, and this princess. In what seems to be the perfect, sheltered, protected life. This went on until about 18 years ago. We, in many ways, we lived inside a bubble, completely detached from the outside world. And 18 years ago, on the 4th of September 1997, this bubble of ours was blown up to millions of pieces by 2 Palestinian suicide bombers who blew themselves up in Ben Yehuda Street in the center of Jerusalem, killing 5 people that day, including 3 little girls. One of these girls was my 14 years old Smadar. It was Thursday afternoon and the beginning of a very long and cold night, which continues until today. At first, when you hear about the explosion, you keep hoping that maybe this time this finger will not turn towards you. Then gradually you find yourself running in the streets trying to find her. She completely vanished. You go from hospital to hospital, from police station to police station. Many long and frustrating hours until eventually very, very late at that night, you find yourself in the morgue and this finger is stuck right between your eyes and you see this sight which you will never ever be able to forget for the rest of your life. And then you go back home. The house is filled with thousands and thousands of people coming to pay respect, to offer condolences. These are the 7 days of the Jewish mourning period. It's called Shiva. You are kind of enveloped by these thousands of people in a very clever traditional way of ease your way into your new kind of life which expects you. On the 8th day, everybody goes back to their normal everyday businesses. You are left alone. You need to wake up. You need to stand up and face yourself, and you have to make a decision. What are you going to do now with this new unbearable burden on your shoulder? What are you going to do with this anger that eats you alive from within? There are only 2 ways to choose from, 2 options, and the first one is obvious. When someone kills your 14 years old little girl, you are so angry and you want to get even, which is natural, which is human, which is the way most people choose, the way of revenge and retaliation, this endless cycle of violence which never stops. But then after a while, you start to think, we're human beings, we are not animals, we can use our heads. You ask yourself, will killing anyone will bring her back? Will causing pain to someone will ease this unbearable pain? Well, the answer is certainly not. So in a very gradual and complicated process, you come to the other option, which is much more difficult, trying to understand what happened here. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to be that mad, that angry, that hopeless, that desperate, that he's willing to blow himself up with his 14 years old little girl? And then the most important question of them all, what can you do personally in order to prevent this unbearable pain from other people, from other families? Well, it's not easy, it takes time, it took me almost a year. Foolishly enough, at the beginning I thought I could go on with my life pretending as nothing had happened. But nothing was normal anymore, I was not the same person anymore. And about a year later I met a big man who changed my life completely. His name was Yitzhak Frankenthal. He was a religious Jew, you know, with a kippah on his head. And you know how we tend to put people into drawers, stigmatize people, judge people by the way they look, the way they dress. And I was certain that he is a fascist and a right winger and he eats Arabs for breakfast. And I prepared myself to fight. We started talking. He told me about his son Arik, a soldier who was kidnapped and murdered by Hamas in 1994. And about this organization that he created of people who lost their loved ones and still wanted peace and searched for peace and fought for peace. And I remember then that this guy, Yitzhak Frankenthal, was one of these thousands of people that came to my house during those 7 days of mourning. And I went crazy. I was so angry with him. And I asked him, how could you step into someone's house who just lost a loved one and talk about peace? And he was not insulted, just invited me over to watch a meeting of this group of crazy people. I went to see her, I got a little bit curious. It was 17 years ago. It was the first time ever in my life I've met Palestinians as human beings. Not as workers in the streets, not as terrorists, not as transparent people, as human beings who carry the same burden that I carry, who suffer exactly like I suffer. I remember seeing this old Arab lady coming down from the bus with this long black traditional Palestinian dress with a picture of a 6-year-old kid on her chest. Exactly like my wife Carrie, the name of our daughter on hers. I'm not a religious person. I don't have any way of explaining what happened to me back then, 18 years ago. All I can say is that from that moment on, I devote my life to go all around the country, to talk to anyone who wants to listen, and to those who do not want to listen, to convey this very basic and very simple message, which says it will not stop unless we talk. We are not doomed. We can change it. We can break once and for all the endless cycle of violence and revenge and retaliation. And the only way to do it is by talking to each other. So we go around the country, we talk to people. We go from high school to high schools. We talk to the kids. We tell them that our blood is exactly the same color, that our pain is exactly the same pain, and our tears are just as bitter. And if we, who paid the highest price possible, if we can talk to each other, then anyone can, then anyone should. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, my brother. Good evening, because it's our time. We cannot leave your time. We can say good morning. Do I look like a terrorist? I don't think so. Yeah, in fact, we have the same story like my brother Rami. Always I remember what Rumi says, beyond right and wrong, there is a field. Meet me there. In our case, as Palestinians and Israelis, it's very clear for me who's right and who's wrong. Of course, we are right as Palestinians because we struggle for our freedom, to live in peace and security. And for the Israelis, they are right because they want also to live in a safe place for security. And we discover that we have a radical disagreement and we are killing each other. And instead to continue killing each other, we discovered that we need to meet each other in order to survive together and try to find a different way to solve this conflict. Our main problem from our point of view as Palestinians is the Israeli occupation, which is the source of the terrorism, source of the hatred, source of the fear, and we continue killing each other because of this occupation. For the people who don't know me, I spent 7 years in the Israeli jails when I was 17 years old as a kid. I claim that the Israeli occupation teach us how to hate them, how to fight them, because as kids we don't understand why those strange people go into our village to occupy us or to control us. We start as 4 kids at the age of 13 years old. It's a crime against the humanity. Of course, the Israeli side taking they must be responsible for creating from us fighters. And at the same time, it's a Palestinian crime against our kids. And I'm talking as a kid. When we talk about 13 years old, you must be in the school, live a normal life. But in our case, we lost our childhood. We are not kids anymore. Our goal was just to fight those strangers, to fight those soldiers, and we don't have a childhood. So it's just in this situation, we became victims of the situation, and I claim it's a crime against our kids as kids. And this is what I learned, how I try to teach my kids and to keep them kids, which is very difficult in Palestine. And we can see now how 12 and 11 years old kid taking a knife and going to stab an Israeli or a soldier. Again, it's a crime, and when the Israeli media, big journalists, try to describe this kid as a Palestinian terrorist, it's the worst. He's a kid, he's not a terrorist, and he don't understand. Yes, they have responsibility for as his parents, and of course, the situation, it's very difficult to explain what the Palestinians see in the TV and what the Israelis see in the TV. Unfortunately, this wave or this intifada or this uprising didn't start the conflict before 40 days. It started many years before. So I spent 7 years in the Israeli jails. It was a very long 7 years. During these years, I watched a movie about the Holocaust, and I discovered this crime against the humanity. But it's very difficult to get empathy or sympathy with the Israelis because they are Jew, and because those people occupied us. So it's very difficult not to make the connection between people who pass away 70 years ago and with those people who occupied us now, and some kind of to make the connection and get sympathy with them. It's kind to accept their occupation or to justify their occupation against yourself, which is very difficult. But this movie, it was, as I mentioned, it was very difficult for me, and it pushed me in 2011, after so many years, to make my master's degree about the Holocaust, to understand this crime, and because for me it was like a big lie. I cannot understand that it's 6 million people. And then I discovered if you allow yourself to discover the other side, to give yourself to know the narrative of the other side, even your enemy, in the first place, you pay respect to your narrative and to yourself. And this is what happened in jails. It was very difficult for me to change my mind from violent to non-violent, or what you Americans like to describe it as terrorism, which we call it armed struggle. Because of the Israeli behavior in jail, we just became more determined to continue our armed struggle against this brutal enemy. Their goal is to kill our humanity, and our goal is to survive and to keep strong in order to take our revenge. It means to continue our struggle to achieve our freedom. I get released in 1992 after 7 years. It was Madrid Conference for Peace in the Middle East, and 2 years later it was Oslo Agreement. And people like me who struggle for peace, if we have peace, we need to stop fighting each other. And in one specific year, 1994, I decided not to use and not to support armed struggle because it doesn't work. We already tried more than 100 years. The result, Israel is not safe, Palestine is not free, more blood, more pain, more victims, and we cannot defeat each other. We need to change our way to achieve our goal, which is ending the Israeli occupation in the first place. And I start to be active in my society without any connection with the Israelis, because I believe this way it's for my interests as a Palestinian. In 2002, I hear in the Israeli media about refuseniks. which is ex-Israeli soldiers and officers who refuse to take part of the illegal, as they describe it, and immoral occupation and to occupy another people. And luckily, Rami's son Elik was one of the co-founders of this movement, which we met each other after 3 years in 2005, and we create combatants for peace. The first time in history,
War criminals.
War criminals, terrorists, killers, freedom fighters, whatever you want, ex-enemies, they meet each other in the middle of the conflict and they decide to let down their weapons and they start to talk. We create combatants for peace. In the first year, we became 300 members from both sides. Today, we are more than 700 members. I found myself in this organization most of my time in combatants for peace because we discovered each other, and our slogan was, if you want to make peace with your enemy, you need to work with your enemy. Then he became your partner. And the hero of heroes who make his enemies friends. This is what Jesus says, love your enemy. And when you love your enemy, he became your brother. We don't need to love each other, in fact, Israelis and Palestinians. And by the way, I love this man, but we can live without hugging each other, without eating hummus together. For us, just leave us alone in our own state, in our own land, and don't occupy us, and you can continue hating us forever. But what we decide, which is very difficult, to trust your enemy in order to become your partner, we prove and we discover that yes, we can trust each other as people, as nations, and we discover that we are very strong people. Imagine after 6 million victims, the Jewish people paid. There is a German ambassador in Tel Aviv, and there is an Israeli ambassador in Berlin. It means we need to overcome our past, and we need to discover that we are more than our pain, and we are bigger than our pain. We need to survive, and we need to look for the future. In 2007, the 16th of January, I lost my 10 years old daughter Abir to an Israeli border police who shot and killed her from a distance of 15 to 20 meters in her head from the back in a normal day. As Rami described, it's the most painful thing can happen to anyone. I didn't find the answer to kill an Israeli daughter. I decided to use this tragedy to build more bridge with the enemy, with the other side, with the Israelis. Directly, I joined the Parents Circle together with more than 620 families to try to spread a very simple message. In Palestine and Israel, and I don't know what you believe, we must exist on this land to share it as one state, 2 states, 5 states. Otherwise, we will share the same land as 2 big graves to our kids and our families. The Israelis will never give up their safe place after 3,000 years of slavery and discrimination and the Holocaust. And the Palestinians, we will never give up our freedom. We must look forward to save ourselves and solve our kids and shape our future together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rami and Bassam. We had a first question come in. If you had the opportunity to meet and talk to the man responsible for taking your daughter's life, would you want to do that?
In fact, this was my question. I want to meet this killer to ask him always one question. Why? Which is open question forever. It doesn't matter what he will say. In my case, I want him to understand that he committed to a crime because I consider him a victim. To kill 10 years innocent girl without regret because I met him in the court, absolutely is a victim. And I told him, I need you to know that you are not a hero. You are not a warrior. You didn't kill the enemy or the terrorist. You just killed 10 years innocent girl. And in any time, if you think that you committed to a crime and you did something wrong, and you come to ask me to forgive you, always you will find me there. I will forgive you. not because of yourself, because of myself. Because I want to clean my heart from this anger, because I am a human being, and because I love my daughter very much, and because I have another 5 kids. I want to protect them. They deserve to live and to exist. And the most important thing, because I am more stronger than this killer, than this victim, because I gave up to be a victim. I have no enemy to conquer. I don't hate anyone.
I would like to add to these very wise words just one sentence. I also look at the killer of my daughter as a victim. The basic difference between my killer and his killer is that my killer had the decency to kill himself, while his killer spent the very same evening in his club dancing and never ever be brought to justice, never will be brought to justice. And this is the basic difference between the two victims, my victim and his victim.
I think that relates directly to what you were talking about, the desperation. And I think desperation is really what we're sensing right now in the current uprising, in the current violence. I think both societies feel that they are the victims here, and there is a general sense of desperation that prevents them from being the bigger person, as you put it, and trying to take responsibility and staying within the role of the victim and staying within the desperation. And I ask you, as people who have looked at desperation in the eye, you said we can break this cycle, and I'm asking how?
Look at us. This is how. The only way to break the cycle of violence is to do what we are doing, to talk to each other, to understand each other, and the most important thing, which comes down to one word only. No matter what the political solution will be, we need to be able to respect each other. Respect is the essence of everything. The ability to respect each other is a condition. It will not happen without this ability to look and treat and respect the other side, know the other side, know the language, know the culture of the other side, respect the other side.
Don't expect not to agree with him. Of course I agree.
What about the fear?
Always I said our enemy in the Israeli side is the Israeli fear. It's the deep fear that we don't understand because we are under the occupation, and it's the only occupation on earth that seeks security from its victims. I need to secure my occupiers. It's unbelievable. It's unbearable. But this is the reality. This is how we need to understand this reality. The Palestinians lives without any hope. There is no political process in the future. What we see how those people, I mean the occupiers, I mean the soldiers, which is the tool of the occupation, how they treat the Palestinians, it's unbearable. We will never be silenced. No one can keep silence while this crimes, its brutality goes on the streets, on the checkpoints, the humiliation. At the same time, we don't understand this fear in the Israeli side. So what we decide that we need, as Rami said, we need to talk to each other, we need to work to each other. And what Martin Luther King says, that people hate each other because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. When we know each other, we stop scared from each other in the personal level. And this is what happened to us when we meet each other in the first place, to discover that we are the same crazy people. We want to kill each other to achieve peace and security. And we are very peaceful people. But if we live in a normal situation, you cannot expect our behavior.
I have a question here from one of our viewers regarding the current situation. What can you tell us about the situation right now from your experience and how it impacts your decision and your work?
You know, for us, it's very clear we will lose, I don't know how much, another 100, 200, 2,150, like for 6 months in Gaza. Another 70 Israelis, 100, 200 Israelis will invest in more blood, in more hatred, and we will have more blood. This is the clear result. We are not going to achieve anything except more fear and more blood, and we will go back to negotiation from the beginning. And this is what we say, how much blood we need to sign this agreement, how much blood we need to convince the Americans that, believe me, we are the same. We have the same tears. We have the same color of blood, Israelis and Palestinians. And we we describe ourselves that we are the chosen people too. It's the same. Until you understand and see us as you see the other side, we will have peace. Believe me, and I love you. We are victims in your politics. If you cannot be part of our solution, please leave us alone. But we need your prayer. You need to understand that, as some of you believe that Jesus, when he come back, he will kill the Muslims and the Jews. The Jewish believe the same, and the Muslims. We are waiting for Jesus. Not to kill the Jewish and the Christians, because we believe that then we will have peace. So when Jesus comes, can we wait not to kill each other? Because if you believe that he will kill us, let us live as human beings, and when he comes, we will see what will happen. Believe me, this is the only solution. We have the same right to exist, Israelis and Palestinians and Americans, and we can see the sad event, the sad crime that's going in France, and a few days ago in Beirut, and thousands of Syrian women and kids, thousands of Iraqis, and thousands of Palestinians and Israelis.
The current situation has us meeting less. I was talking about the traveling limitations before between Palestine and Israel, and within Palestine, it doesn't have only Palestinian and Israeli members meeting less. It has Palestinian members meeting less within themselves. And as we saw in the last war in Gaza last summer, this was one of the hardest things for the members to endure. Seeing the two of you, it seems reasonable. I mean, for you to not meet each other, being such good friends, is probably hard. But for someone who is not part of the parent circle, maybe they don't understand what is so hard about not meeting Palestinians for an Israeli, or what is so hard about not meeting an Israeli if you're a Palestinian, if there's this war going on. Why is it so hard, and why do you so much need to meet?
It's the question of the egg and the chicken. What comes first? The inability to see each other, or the hatred and the fear? There are people who gain from the fear. There are people who build on this fear to divide us. You know, we give hundreds and hundreds of lectures in Israeli and Palestinian high schools every year. And the very sight of us walking into the class, for most of the kids, it's kind of an earthquake. It's a first. They never ever saw an Israeli and a Palestinian which are not fighting each other, which are calling each other brother. And this is something overwhelming, because you must understand that these kids are going through a socializing process of dehumanize the other side, demonize the other side, to the extent that a killer, any killer, can kill a 10 years old girl or a 14 years old girl without being able to look at her as a human being. This is exactly what we are fighting. The walls in the heads. The walls in the heads are our biggest enemy. You know, walls, concrete walls can be turned down, like the Berlin Wall, like other walls. Walls, concrete walls, can be penetrated by two kinds of people. The one determined suicide bomber and the one determined peacemaker. Nobody can prevent us from meeting each other, and no one can prevent the angry, humiliated 10 years old kid from stabbing his enemy after his mother was humiliated in the checkpoint in the morning.
You see, it's probably difficult not to meet each other. It's almost impossible, in my view. We have our own state, it's not a secret.
He's the president.
We cannot. So you want to be the prime minister?
No, I will wait till next
The
week.
treasurer.
But absolutely, in this situation, it's affect our activities. Absolutely. Imagine, for example, the last narrative project. We postponed it 3 times because of the curfew, road blockade. We cannot make it. And the last group, it was a bereaved families who are not part of the parents' center. It's the most painful group, but I am very proud of this group because you need to know how they meet each other in the first place. For a Palestinian to meet an Israeli, it's not a big honor. You need to know that because it's the relationship between occupied and occupier. When we meet each other in the personal level, this is the end of the conflict, always. And I remember that we need to meet each other, first of all, Palestinian side and the Israeli side. Then we have the first meeting. I remember a Palestinian mother, and she was very angry because she lost two sons. And she came to shout to the Israelis. And I said, if you want to shout, you can stay at home and I will shout instead of you. But why you come here? And she said, I want them to know that they are criminals, they are killers, they killed my 2 sons. And during the question, we have questions that if you know your enemy, the suffering of the other side, and she always was very angry, and she claimed that the other side, they are like us, they are feeling like us, they are suffering like us. And one of the questions was, if an Israeli asks you to give him 200 shekels because he don't have any money, and she said, it's a human thing. Yes, I give him. It's something, it's not politics. And imagine in the first meeting when she came, she was voluntary to talk about her story. And she notes that during she's telling her story, the Israeli mothers, they start to cry. And she don't believe that. And one of the mothers, she said, sorry, I cannot wait. Ask her, I want to hug her. And she agreed. And this was her turning point to discover that the Israeli mother exactly like her. And this is what I say when I say we need to meet each other. Unfortunately, this kind of meetings was the most important project for me, the narrative project, which we bring Israelis and Palestinians from all walk of life to meet each other. What I want to say, yeah, it started to cost us like double, but we have no other choice. We need to continue with this project. This is what I say for the governments who support the governments. Just give us, I don't know, half percent to our organization, to people like us, to continue fighting for peace for both sides. Even if you are pro-Israelis, we work for the Israelis because we want them to be free from their oppression. And if you are pro-Palestinians, also to support the Palestinians to end the occupation. So you will be pro both sides, Israelis and Palestinians.
We have a great wrapping up question from a journalist in Botswana. He's asking, what would you like the world to know about fathers from both Israel and Palestine?
Sorry?
What would you like the world to know about fathers from both Israel and Palestine?
Wow. I think basically fathers are not very different from mothers. I think for fathers, the connection with the kids is different, and the pain is different. And I can only talk out of my own heart, not as a father, not as a mother, as a human being. You need to do whatever is possible to make people understand that the price of not having peace is too high. The alternative for peace is too horrible. That you never forget, that you never can live 1 second without these memories. It torments you. There is no sleeping at night. When you wake up in the morning, you have to choose again and again this choice between the two options. And what I can say as a human being is find within yourself the power to look at your enemy, to talk to your enemy, to know your enemy, to know the origins of the anger of your enemy, to listen to the narrative of your enemy, and to expect him to listen to your pain. Together, start the journey, which is a difficult one. No shortcuts, but this is the only way possible because the other way leads to nowhere. The price of the other way is too high.
Do you think there is a women's in the audience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, but they'll still want to hear what you have to say about fathers.
It's a very strange question, in fact.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want you to add something as a father about Igal and Arab coming back from Belgium this past Thursday.
In fact, I believe it's a lot of responsibility on the father, according to my opinion, because we are more militants. When we talk about men, we are the tools of war, not the women. The women are the victims of the war. And yes, it depends how we raise our kids. It was a challenge for us to raise up our kids in the same way that we go through this way. And finally, after so many long years, Arab, my son, and Eagle, my brother's son, they are 22 years old. Both of them, they just came back from Belgium to represent the parent circle. Imagine my son at the age of 13, when he lost his sister, he wanted to go to take revenge. And it takes me years until he understands that this is not the way, which was a big achievement. And today, he's following my steps because he understands that you cannot enforce them. Because I want to raise him up because I understand this pain when I lost Abidal. I understand the pain that I caused to my parents when I was in jail. When my mother came to visit me and crossed 15 kilometers in the snow on her legs without transportation, and I don't understand why she came to see me for 20 minutes. Then I start to raise up my kids in a different way, to say, please, don't harm me. And they understand that. So this is our responsibility. And fathers around the world, we are the same. We have the same feeling. Accept if someone crazy.
Thank you. Do you have a last comment?
Yeah, I have a message which usually I conclude any meeting with it, and I think this is the most important message of them all. It's a personal message. Usually, at the end of every session that we have together, people ask us, what can we do? And I will tell you what you must do. You see, I'm a son of a Holocaust survivor. My late father was an Auschwitz graduate. And 70 years ago, while they took my grandparents to the Olds back in Europe, the free and civilized world stood aside, never lifted a finger. And today, 70 years later, while these two crazy nations of ours are massacring each other without any mercy, the free and civilized world is still standing aside, doing nothing. And you know, for the last 15 years, ever since Camp David until today, more than 10,000 people have died. Most of them are innocent. Too many of them are young children. This is a crime against humanity. Standing aside while a crime is being committed is also a crime. Now, we do not ask of you to be pro-Israeli, and we do not ask of you to be pro-Palestinian. We demand of you to be pro-peace, to be against injustice and against this continuation of the situation in which one people is dominating the other. And I will conclude with a message of a Jew, myself as a Jew, with the utmost respect to my tradition, to my history, to my people, ruling and oppressing and humiliating and occupying millions of people without any democratic right for so many years is not Jewish, period. And being against it is not anti-Semitism. If you get into an argument, you can quote me. Thank you.
Absolutely, they will get in argument.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining. I thank Shiri and Winona from the American Friends for setting this up and allowing this, and I hope we have more sessions in the future. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much. Good night.